It is nice to see you all. Today we will discuss all the theoretical aspects of micro frontend architecture. It is strictly based on theory, okay? And if you guys are interested, we will also in future we will introduce hands-on practical implementation for the same, okay? So today we will have this discussion on micro frontend, and we will discuss several topics like what is micro frontend and how it differs from the traditional monolithic architecture, which is a single app. So we will discuss all this, and we will go through the advantages, disadvantages of using micro frontend, what all benefits micro frontend provides us. Okay, why larger companies are using it these days. Okay, and then we will have a Q&A session at the end, and there you can ask all your doubts. Okay, so I would like to introduce myself initially. My name is Aditya, and I have been working almost all of my, focus initial, like from the beginning. I was working on front end technologies only, and initially I started in my college days as a freelancer, and I have worked for several clients as well. Uh, and we in Neointeraction we have worked with this micro front-end architecture for a client. We will discuss one case study as well regarding that. Okay, a little bit about our company, which is Neointeraction Design. So we are design focused company. So we master UI UX design as well as UI engineering. So we have implemented these micro front-end architecture. We have provided our client with more design and better front end approach. Okay, so industries we have served these industries: finance and tech, IoT, these things. And we have like these clients: ICICI Prudentials, BNP Paribas, and Intertrust Group. So these clients, these all clients we have worked with them. And for Intertrust Group specifically, we have implemented this micro frontend. So we will discuss that case study as well. First, let me start with this micro frontend architecture. Right, it is a modern way. Like it was recently introduced because previously we had. Most of the companies were using this monolithic approach. Now, what is monolithic exactly? So basically, you can assume that they were just integrating all their functionalities in one single application. Okay. Previously, monolithic architecture was really popular because companies were using mostly these. Like there was only one single application, and all the functionalities were within that single application. So it was really complex to manage, right? So we have this micro front end approach introduced recently, and a lot of larger scale companies are adopting it. Okay, so we will discuss about monolithic architecture, right? So what is exactly monolithic architecture? By term monolithic, it just means basically one massive thing. So you can just assume that we are creating one single app and we are integrating all those functionalities within that single app. Okay, so that is basically simply one single application running is called monolithic architecture. Okay, so previously, companies were using this to, even larger scale companies were using one single app to run all their functionalities. You know, one example of monolithic architecture would be Apple.com, where you can see there is not much thing going on. It is just an e-commerce website, and there are limited functionalities. So scale for this is really small. Okay, so Apple.com, why is it monolithic? Apple.com is small in scale, and all the functionalities remain same as it is just focused on selling the product. Okay, there is not much thing going on. Now we will compare this with micro frontend, and you will see why what is the difference. So yeah, let's discuss micro frontend now. So micro frontend, by the term micro frontend means several micro applications running behind the scene, combining each other to make a single application. Okay, so we have this small tiny applications divided into separate modules. Okay, so These all applications, micro apps, they run independently and combine, like they all come together in a one single wrapper app that user sees and interacts with. Okay, so each app is independent of other apps. So app one doesn't really depend on application two and application three, etc. Okay, every app is responsible for its own functionality. So it is always better. I mean, we can make it dependent, but it is a better practice to keep it independent. Okay, and each app is responsible for its own functionality. So app one's functionality would not affect app two's functionality as and similar to this, like for all other apps. So another thing is that when we create micro front end, so we can choose any frameworks. We can even choose vanilla JavaScript to create that micro front end, and it just comes together and communicates at a single level. Okay, inter-app communication. So we have this in micro frontend. We have this one wrapper app which combines all the micro applications, and all these things come together in that wrapper app, and user interacts with that, making it seem like it is a one single app, but behind the scenes multiple apps are running. Okay, service apps, yeah, these micro frontend, we can also call it as a service app, or we can also call it as a module, separate modules. Okay, communication through module federation. This is something technical. We have a lot of different approach to do micro frontends, but mostly these days companies are using module federation because it has several advantages. So it is something more technical, but yeah, basically what you can assume that these apps communicate with each other really well using module federation, and that is how these apps come together at like a single application. Now we have this example, Amazon. Okay, Amazon Shop. Amazon Shop is relatively larger in scale than let's say Apple.in, which we showed you previously. So you can see in Amazon we have Amazon Shop, then we have Amazon Fresh, then we have Amazon Mini TV. These things, these different parts itself is capable of being a separate application. Amazon Mini TV can be a separate application. Amazon Fresh could be a separate application, and similar to like this, Amazon has many services going on like Amazon Pay. We have Amazon Healthcare, and a lot of other things are going on. And you can see these all applications are hosted on amazon.in. So domain remains the same. We don't have different domains for different things. The domain remains the same, and each application is relatively larger, but it seems like it is one single application, right? So why amazon.in is using micro frontend? Because it has several apps within a single domain. You can see there are a lot of things going on, lot of complex functionalities would be there for each application. Each app is very large in scale, and to reduce complexity and improve efficiency, it is like this. So larger companies are adopting micro front end. This is the main reason. Okay, to reduce complexity and improve efficiency. Okay, so we have next thing we have is we will discuss about more about micro frontend and its advantages. Okay, so we have these advantages. We will discuss it one by one. Now we have firstly we have independent development and deployment. So by this we mean so previously we in monolithic applications where one single application were there. So we would have done the things. I mean, if we want to deploy it, then we have to deploy the entire application. Okay. So and even if we want to develop, we need to touch the entire application. We need to go through all the complex, all the lot of chunks code of codes. So that would be really hard. So by this now we have this modularization. So each app is separated from each other. So now each app can be developed independently. They are not dependent on each other. So let's say Amazon Mini TV should not depend on Amazon Fresh. Okay. So incremental updates. Now we can update application incrementally. So let's say we need to update Amazon Mini TV. We don't need to touch Amazon Fresh or something like that. Other parts of the application, we can just update that Amazon Mini TV, and we can deploy it. Okay. Independent testing is also there, so each application is capable of independent testing, so we don't need to interfere with other applications. Faster development and release cycles, so each app can be developed and released on its own. Okay. Next thing is scalability. So scalability, as you can see, we are dividing the entire infrastructure into several small applications. So now we have improved maintainability. By that, we means we don't have to go through a lot of chunk of codes, and managing things becomes much easier if we have divided those complex things into much smaller scale. Okay. So independent apps are there, so we can just go to a particular app, and if we want to introduce a new app, we can also do that easily, rather than depending on one single application. We have smaller app size, so we can incrementally increase our application length. I mean, if we want to scale it much further, we can scale it. We can introduce some new application or some new feature really quickly. Okay. And then we have code sharing, so this thing is something again related to module federation, so that is a bit complex topic. We can, I mean, that is something which goes to practical, but all you need to know is that we can share the code between the applications really easily. Okay. So that makes it also much scalable, because we can reuse the code across each our application. Okay. Next thing is technology diversity and better user experience. So we have this choice to choose any framework we want. So let's say app one is in Angular. I mean, let's say you had a monolithic application which was built in React. Okay. Then in that case, if you, let's say something can be done better in Angular rather than React. So then in that case, you cannot introduce Angular in your introduce Angular in your app micro app. So let's say feature and other parts of the application can be React. Okay. Now we have developer efficiency, because let's say some developer might be efficient in Angular, some developer might be efficient in Vue.js. So we can utilize those developers as well. Like if we have a Angular developer, but if we had a monolithic architecture, we couldn't utilize him if it was built in React. So now we have this choice to utilize our developer efficiency efficiently. Okay. Progressive loading. So this is again, progressive loading is similar to lazy loading, which you can think of it like, whenever we need some application, then only it will request that part of the app. Okay. Let's say we are in Amazon Fresh, and we are navigating into Amazon Mini TV. So now whenever we navigate to Amazon Mini TV, then only it is getting fetched. All the resources are getting fetched. Okay. Consistent UX. This is again related to reusability. So we can also do, what we can do is we can introduce a separate application and build a UI library on that application, and we can transfer those components into all of our applications. So our UI becomes consistent in that case. Of course, there are other ways to do it, but this is also an advantage we can leverage in micro frontend, right? So next thing is that loose coupling and fault isolation. So this is one of the major reasons why companies are adopting micro frontend. Independent apps and functionalities. So it is not dependent. So each part of the application is not dependent of each other. So it is less risky in case of error. So let's say you had a monolithic application, one single application which was containing all the functionalities, and let's say you encounter an error. Let's say an intern pushed wrong code and it broke all your application. So in that case, all of your application, the entire application would go down. But in this micro frontend case, each application is independent of each other. So let's say a developer makes a mistake and pushes the code into Amazon Mini TV. Let's assume that. So it would not affect other parts of the Amazon application. It would only take down the Amazon Mini TV part, that we can easily better debug. We can quickly find the solution. Okay, we can see in our CI/CD pipeline as well. That okay, this part of the application caused error, so we can find a quick resolution for it. And again, this relates to less downtime. So we can fix the issue quickly, so there will be less downtime, right? So next thing is legacy integration. So this is related to okay, we can develop now we can develop things much more modular way. So let's say we need to introduce a new feature, or let's say we are updating our framework to some better framework, right? Let's say React has got an update of much more advanced features that we need to utilize. So if we had a monolithic application, then we had to change the entire code, entire part of the application. But now, since we have this micro apps running, now we can just easily go to the one part of the application and change that, and faster we can release those part of the application faster. So we can release new feature, or if we want to update our framework, then we can release it much faster in a modular way, right? And then we have this improved asset security. So since we have this micro apps, so each application is running on different servers, and each application has its own repository. So we can have much better security over it, because let's say we had a monolithic application, and if we want to give a developer some access, so we don't need to provide the entire application access. Rather than that, we can just give a single application micro app, single part of the application. We can just give that developer only that access, and rest of the application we can just protect. So because we don't know what it is more of a company concern, but we don't know what developer would do. He can even misuse it if his intention is wrong. So in that case, providing access is really important. So each application can have its own access, and we can provide that part of the application, only that part of the application to the developer. Okay. Yeah, so that is it about features. Now we have this case study, ITG case study. So this is a company which is a fintech company, right? It had it had a lot of applications. So it was a relatively much larger in scale, and these problems were their consistency and branding, scalability concerns, development bottlenecks. These all of the pain areas which comes under monolithic application. And when your company grows, when you have different sections, then these problems usually comes. Okay. Dependency management. So these were the pain areas, because their application was in Angular and it was a monolithic application. Now these challenges were there: development challenges, performance challenges, security challenges, and challenges multiple role scenario. So these challenges were also there, and we have implemented micro frontend for them, and we achieved these results: modularity and independence, scalability, faster development cycles, all those things which micro frontend has the advantages over monolithic, we were able to overcome, and it is going really smoothly for them. Okay. Yeah, that is it about this case study which we did. And they are really happy with it, and I have worked for them as well, and their application is running much more smoother way. So let's discuss usability now. Really, when to use micro frontend. Now, if your application is medium to large scale size, if you know that your application would have different parts which would be much more complex, then you can choose micro frontend. Okay. If your organization has multiple teams working on it, so it is better to modularize your application, and micro frontend is really good at it. Okay. You need diverse tech stacks. If you need to work with multiple tech stacks, then you can choose this architecture. And if you want asset security, you can choose this again. If you need modular development capability, so these things you can micro front end you can always leverage, right? And then when not to use micro frontend. So for small scale applications, micro frontend is really not required there, because over complexing things is not really good, especially in technical areas. You don't need to over complex things. Like as for example in apple.in, you don't need to introduce micro frontend, because that is a simple, simple application where you're just selling your products, and there are not much thing going on. And we have few people working on the application. When you have one people working on the app, there is not really required to use micro frontend. But basically for small scale apps, you should not overcomplicate things. Micro frontend is useful especially for medium to large scale applications. Yeah, so in summary, multiple micro apps, each containing different parts. So basically, micro front end, you can just think of it as different small applications running behind the scenes to, it combines and make it seem like we are using one single application. Okay, each app is independent from each other, so there is no dependency, very less to no dependency, you can say, between those applications. And micro frontends are great choice for larger scale applications. Okay, I think uh, that is it. Okay, thank you everyone. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
Hello. Hi, Aditya.
Yeah, hi.
Ashok here.
Yeah, hi, Ashok.
So, Aditya, assuming, yeah, I have just one question. Assuming, let's assume micro frontend and I have two React apps, one Angular app. Let's assume we are using a third party, let's say calendar app, or else React forms, or anything which I'm using in the three instance as
Yes.
well.
Hmm.
How does it being managed? Is the packages will load three times when we are combining all three in the wrapper, or
No,
obviously
no, no,
it
no.
will consume.
Yeah, yeah, you can complete your question first, then I'll speak.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so
That was my question.
yeah, I understood your question. So, what happens is that it will not load multiple times. So, there is this module federation, as I said, right? So, module federation usually, if your package version which you are using is same, then it would not load it twice. So, it would only request it only once, and it would share between those applications. So is that what you're looking for? I mean, whenever you use third party, you will obviously have their packages, right? Packages or something which you will install in your application, right? So in that,
Correct. So you're trying to say the version should be same across all three apps. For example, the
yes,
version of the respective package should be same.
yes. So you should keep it same, because if version is different, then it would request twice, or how many different version there are. So it would request that much number of times. But if you keep the version same, so this is something technical. Module federation, what it does is it shares between those applications if the version is same. Even if it React, let's say you are using some module like, you will obviously use React router DOM. Okay, so in that case, React Router DOM, your version should be the same. Otherwise, it would request it twice. But it is not really. I mean, there are some flags you can put. But if you keep the version same, then it would share it across all the applications. So it would not request that twice from the server. It would only request one time.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that
Okay.
is more
Anyway,
technical. Hmm.
sorry to interrupt. Actually, I was going through all this micro from last 1 week, and what I understand is like basically you will be exposing in Webpack configuration, and the same will be the remote JS file or remote file will be consumed in let's say container or wrapper app, for example.
Yeah.
So when you are exposing that remote file.js file which is being generated in one micro frontend, that is being consumed in another micro frontend or a container app or wrapper app.
Hmm.
How does this module federation does? Is it like the remote JS file is just one for one micro frontend, right?
Remote
In
just
which
file. Yeah. Yes.
case another file will be a separate remote JS file for respective micro frontend in, yeah. But then no worries, I got your answer. I'll look into it.
So remote JS file, it has all the data which you need to share, or what you are using. So it has all the data. So behind the scenes, my module federation, what it does, it reads the remote entry JS, and it according to that, it shares between the, I mean, whatever packages are there, it shares between, it communicates it well between the applications. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Any other
Thanks,
questions?
Aditya.
Does model federation has its own state management, or how does it work?
Module federation is something. Module federation is not a state management tool or something. It is a Webpack thing, Webpack configuration, which basically expose your components. Okay, it is not. You will not have a state management inside it. It is more like you are exposing your component, or let's say functionality, to other parts of the application so that they can consume it, just like you consume npm packages, right? So
Yeah.
similar to that, I mean, not exactly similar, but similar to that, it exposes your one application components to other applications so that they can consume it. Similar way, we have micro applications running, and all the micro applications are exposed to the shell app so that it can consume it all, and user can interact with all the applications.
Okay.
Okay. So any
Yeah, hi. Yeah,
Aditya, the
thank you for
example
this
which you
session,
gave few
Stefan.
minutes back, did you people use any global state management for that?
example for Amazon example,
No,
or
you gave a use case, right?
use
No,
case.
no.
Okay.
You people implemented for one of the.
Yes, intertrust, right? Use case, this one.
How did you people handled global state between different micro frontend, like let's say
Yeah.
Redux or context API?
Mm. Yes, that is again another question which we get. Yeah. So first of all, each app should not be dependent of each other. Okay. So what basically we mean is that we don't need to share the state between micro applications. Okay. Authentication, if you have an authentication layer before you go to that micro application, so that authentication layer should be inside the shell app, because that is your root part of your application, so you can handle state there. But if you want to share state across each of the application, you can leverage rxjs. That is a really good package where your state is saved in the window, and you can fetch the data in any of the application. But again, as I said, you should keep the dependency between the micro application as less as you can. Otherwise there would be I mean, benefit of using micro frontend would not be there, because we want to separate these micro apps as much as we can, so that there would be less to no dependency. So if there is any state management required between two applications, you can leverage RxJS. That is a really good package. Other than that, I don't think there is much need to use state management between the applications. Did that answer your question?
Yes, Aditya. Thank you.
Yeah. So any other questions?
Yeah, yeah, hi, Aditya.
Yeah, hi.
So my question is like, as you said, example, right? For Amazon, we have several sub applications that like Amazon Pay, Amazon Fresh. So my question is, for Amazon, we implemented micro front end architecture. For example, in Amazon Fresh, we have like two panel. In this case, like for example, admin panel as well as customer panel. So can we implement this admin panel itself like big application we consider? So can we implement micro front end under micro front end? We can implement. We can achieve this.
Sorry, I didn't get your point.
Like yeah, under Amazon we have several applications, right? Like Amazon Pay, Amazon Fresh.
Yes.
Example again. So under Amazon Fresh, I have like two big application. Like admin under Amazon Fresh, I have admin module as well as like customer module.
Okay.
Just a big application. Can we implement? Can we achieve this under micro front end? Like
Yeah, Yes. You can do that. You can separate. I mean, it is just to show. I mean, how you can implement micro frontend. You can even divide any I mean, how much layer you divide. It's up to you. You can even divide Amazon Fresh into multiple micro frontends if you
Okay.
want. If you want to make a cart section as separate application, you can do that as well.
It won't cause any performance issue. It won't cause, right? Yeah.
No, it would not cause performance issues because micro frontend works like similar way. It creates JavaScript file and it asks for server request, and it works basically as a simple application, you can say. But behind the scenes, we have multiple things going on. It is just like that. So there, I
One
mean,
more.
performance issues not will not be there. Even in micro frontend, you can introduce lazy loading. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. And one more request, like actually I'm new to micro frontend. Maybe if you come up with like one demo, like how the application is, it will be helpful for us. We,
Yes. So we are planning to do another session for this practical implementation, where we will go. I mean, we will implement all the, I mean, state management and how to communicate between the applications, and how to share the components and functionalities between the application. So we will cover all basic part of the micro front end in that.
yeah, okay. Thank you.
So yeah, any other questions? So nobody has any other questions?
Aditya, I have one more question. How is this being deployed when we have micro front end? What is the procedure of deploying this into production? Or
Yeah, so yeah. Micro frontend is, I mean, not all platforms are supported. I mean, if you so what you do in configuration, webpack configuration, is that you provide a path. Okay, so where your application is put, so you where your micro application is put, right? So let's say you have 5 applications, and you deploy each 5 application into several servers. So there will be a path, right, where your application set. So you declare your path in the host application. There it would ask request for those applications. So I mean, we will even in the practical session, we will even host this application into S3, and we will show you how, I mean, how we do this, and even we will configure CDN for that, CloudFront CDN. Okay. So basically, in most of the cases, micro frontends are deployed on S3 bucket, and CloudFront. We leverage CloudFront CDN for that. So what happens is that where we keep the micro frontend, where the JavaScript index file, these things are kept. We have that path, and we can configure it in the Webpack and module protection.
okay,
Okay, that is more kind of practical thing. So any other questions?
again, Aditya, one last question. So, my like obviously when we are working on front end, the major cause with respect to scalability or performance is HTTP request. Considering this micro front end, let's assume there are 10-15 micro front end. Does that increases the HTTP request of the app? Or like again we have minifying the CSS, minifying the JavaScript files or SVG files. Does that creates a multiple files which again loads more HTTP requests, obviously it will cause performance issues, right?
No, 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 no. We are not requesting it via HTTP. So in S3 bucket we have this. So all the micro applications are kept in one single S3 place. So one S3 bucket. So you can just give the part to the S3 bucket, and you can just I mean it. Yeah, since all the applications are under S3, then even in the host app is in S3. So I mean when you request that host app, it would all come together. It is like that. It is not like we are requesting each application is hosted on different server. It is not exactly server. We can do that, but it is not a good way to do it. We can just keep our JS file into S3, and you can just give the relative path.
Okay. But when it builds, previously when we were speaking, it will basically every micro app will generate remote entry JS file. Isn't that file is being loaded when a production in during production when we are loading the respective website? All those files will be multiple and it will be loading multiple times. Am I right or wrong?
Sorry, I didn't get your question. Can you repeat? Okay.
For example, what I understand is we are for every micro frontend we are exposing one app. Let's say one app for Navbar, or maybe as with respect to Amazon, one app will be for Amazon clothing, another will be for Amazon Fresh,
Yes, yes.
and each one will be generating remote entry.js.
Hmm.
Something like
Yes,
that, as
yes,
far
yes.
as I know. And we
Hmm.
are exposing that to Webpack modular federation, and we are consuming the same wrapper or container. When you are loading this container app in production, or once you are pushed it to once you are deployed, isn't it all these remote JS files are remote entry files are being loaded 2-3 times? When I say 2-3 times, individually one, like for example one for Amazon, another for Amazon.
That is something. I
It
mean, that is.
uses a HTTP request.
Yeah, remote entry JS file is not that big of a file. I mean, that is something which happens behind the
Okay.
scenes, and I mean, even you can see it. I mean, if it even loads 2 to 3 times a day, I don't think that would cause that much performance issues. Like remote entry JS file is really,
No,
really.
I got your point.
Hmm.
Not about remote entry JS. Accordingly, these files, I'm not sure. Accordingly, the SVG files, or let's say images, or even CSS for one micro frontend, there will be one more another CSS for second micro frontend. There will
Yeah.
be uh,
So
uh,
CSS, yes, yes. So that is what where we leverage component. I mean, we can build components as a library, you can say, and we can leverage that library to I mean across all our applications, so that it won't. I mean, of course, if you create separate CSS files, separate JS, separate separate SVG files for each of the application, then it obviously it would be requesting all those applications, all those files separately. But if you can reuse those applications, then it would be much more efficient, right? So
got it. Something like another component, which core components or something like that, which can be reused across multiple micro frontend.
yes, yes.
Got it.
So that is again a strategic way to do it. Of course, we need to plan it and do it a more better strategic way. So that depends on your planning, right? That is a good point, but yeah, we can strategize how we need to implement these things, and we can create a library, and we can share the components across each applications. So any other questions? I think then we can conclude this call.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
Thanks, Aditya.
Yeah, sure, sure. Thank you all for joining.